Hi, it's Sandy and welcome to my January wrap-up. So in the month of January I managed to read 10 books and well, kind of. I am still reading one but I will be finishing it before the end of the month and it's a reread, so I'm fine. I'm happy to wrap it up. Excuse me if I'm a bit like red and stuff, I am getting ready to go to the gym, which meant I had to get into leggings and why is that so difficult? But I figured before I go, I'll just quickly film my wrap up and yeah. Also, please ignore the fringe. It needs cut and it always does this when it needs cut because it's too long and it just doesn't sit right. So we're ignoring that. As always, first I'll go over the books I DNF'd and then we'll get into the books I actually finished. Now, in the realm of the 10 prompts that I picked up I picked from my jar, wherever I've put it, I've just found my TBR. The 10 prompts that I got from the jar, I technically failed, so I have done some rearranging because I ended up not reading a couple of books that are on there, or DNFing a few books that are on there. I tried to rearrange it so I'd have a red book for each one, but at the end of it I just decided to count the DNFs because life is too short and I'm not pushing myself to read something just to hit a goal. I want to enjoy my reading and not like force myself to plough through something just to tick a box, you know. Like I say, I will start with the books I DNF'd. So the first thing I DNF'd was actually Love Me Do by Lindsay Kelk, which then did mean that I took Love Story off my TBR because I just did not gel with her writing style. There was nothing wrong with the book. I got to a certain point, like the characters were doing things that just didn't make sense, but I can normally get around that if I like the characters and the story's interesting, but it just wasn't. I just really didn't care for the characters or the story, and it was just, yeah, I wasn't keen on it. I wasn't keen on the writing style, so this one also went because if I'm not going to gel with her writing style, there's no point in me trying to read any more of her books. That's good. That's 2 books off my TBR and not staring me in the face, and they can go to a lovely home who will appreciate them. Also DNF'd and already on hold is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I don't know what I was thinking with this one. Vicky was getting rid of it and I was like, I will try it. Because I read The Night Circus. I didn't particularly enjoy The Night Circus, but I read it. And so I gave The Starless Sea a go, and it was just, I'm not very good with whimsy. I don't like whimsical stories. And Erin Morgenstern's writing is just whimsy. Again, it's not a thing against the book. I just couldn't get into the writing style. I should have known that, but I thought, you know what, I'd give it another try. And yeah, it just wasn't for me. It was very, I don't know. The writing style wasn't for me. It was very whimsical. It reminded me a lot of a book called Neverwhere by an author I don't really want to talk about. But it's that sort of thing where you're not entirely sure what's happening. And I don't like that for a story. Like, you're not meant to know what's happening, but for a lot of it I didn't enjoy that, so I just DNF'd it, and it's already been sent off to a new home. And the last book that I DNF'd was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I think we can all see where this is going. The writing style just was not for me. I did not like Emily. I did not care for Emily. I found the writing style, again, that style that I just don't gel very well with. And I couldn't even redeem it with liking the characters because I really didn't like her. She reminded me a lot of Alice from Calabasas, so if you liked I didn't like Alice and Calabasas. And it might be that you're not meant to like the characters, but I need some kind of redeeming thing about them to actually like them. And the mix of not being attached at all to the character and not enjoying the writing style, I just found it was like reading a classic. It honestly was like trying to read Jane Austen, and I like Jane Austen, but it's not what I was looking for in this. I should have known better. Now, The Starless Sea and Emily Wilde both could have fit for my read a book with magic prompt, which is the prompt that I did not complete. So we're counting one of them for that. Now on to what I actually finished. So the first thing I read was Light Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. I loved this. This was for my prompt, read a book with a protagonist who has a disability, and one character has undiagnosed ADHD, possibly autism as well, and the second character has diagnosed autism. And her rampant ADHD gets her in trouble. She wins the lottery on one of those scratch cards that they have in America, and decides on a whim to buy a flower farm on Facebook Marketplace. If that doesn't say raging ADHD, I don't know what does. Unfortunately, when she gets there, her name is Opal. Unfortunately, when Opal gets there, Pepper is there because Pepper lives there, and Pepper's under the impression that the farm belongs to her. And so these two need to figure out what's happening here, because technically, legally, Opal owns the farm, but morally, Pepper owns the farm. And neither of them really want to just throw the other one out on their ass, even though Pepper considers it. I'm not going to lie, she does consider it. And they kind of are forced to live together and try and work out how to get around this, and how to work together. And also the farm is at the point where it's struggling financially, and Pepper really, really wants it to succeed because it belonged to her aunt, who she called her gran. And honestly, this is just a lovely, sweet story. It's a sapphic story, obviously, and I love these two characters. They're really, really fun to read. Like I say, Opal is pure chaos, whereas Pepper is very regimented, and those two put into a space together was really, like, chaotic. But at the same time, it kind of taught them both a bit how to work with the other. I'm not saying, like, it changed them at all. It just, like, Pepper needed to learn how to accept help, and Opal needed to learn how to rein herself in a little bit. Definitely, I think, my favourite Maisie Eddings book. Then I read Silver Elite, which was for my Read a Book with a Map prompt, and this does indeed have a map. Where is it? There we go, proof. And I really enjoyed this. This was so reminiscent of like Divergent and Hunger Games and Shatter Me and that sort of classic era of dystopian. This really takes it back to dystopian, and I really enjoyed it. So in this world, there are people who have abilities, and they have been hunted almost to extinction, to the point where they need to hide. They go into hiding in plain sight almost, or go underground. And our main character is one of these silvers. Now they're called silvers because when they use their powers, use their magic, their veins glow silver. But for Ren, this does not happen. And so she's able to hide in plain sight quite well. As a child, her parents were killed for being part of the rebellion, and she was taken away by one of their friends and raised as his niece to keep her safe. She is living in this little hamlet. I don't know why I call it a hamlet. I think it's called Hamlet. Anyway, she's living in this little village with her uncle and friends who are all part of the like underground network in different ways. And something happens one night, and our uncle ends up being taken as a traitor because they find out that he was actually one of the old traitors, you know. And she goes on this journey. She goes to the sort of main city. So I should have muted that. She goes to the city to try and save his life, but ends up being recruited into the silver. It's not Silver Elite. It's Silver something. I can't remember. Silver Block. There we go. And in the Silver Block, she has got to basically train as a soldier alongside our main character, who's the son of the general, the king. The general, because it's a military. It's very Shatter Me coded in that side of it. If you love Shatter Me, if you love Hunger Games, if you love Divergent, if you love those classic stories and you want to feel something like that again, this is definitely for you. It is absolutely a lot of like ripped from those stories. Like a lot of inspiration has been taken from these stories, but I like the magic system in this. The magic system is like I'm sure it was some kind of like sci-fi. It was to do with bioterrorism. So there was a big war, and some countries used these bioweapons, which gave everybody, like they made everybody ill. They had like a pathogen of some kind in them, and some of the people that survived became silvers, and other people were just regular. Some died. So that's where this comes from. I'm getting all over the place with this, but I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to read Broken Dove. This book, I'm pretty sure if you've read any of the previous sort of dystopians, this will not surprise you in the slightest, but it is a good time for somebody to feel that nostalgia. Next is Fan Service by Rosie Danan. I keep wanting to say this is Ali Hazelwood, and it's just not. It is just not. And this was for Read a Book with a Supernatural Element. Obviously, we have werewolves. Now, this follows our mainline character who was in a TV show called The Arcane Files, where he was a werewolf detective. Think Teen Wolf or like Buffy, that sort of thing. And he, one night on a full moon, finds himself having these weird urges and this weird pain, and then he wakes up the next day and has no idea what's happened. But people have seen him in LA pretending to be a werewolf. And so he needs to find out what's going on. Is he actually turning into a werewolf? Why is he turning into a werewolf? How has this happened? What the hell is going on? Basically, is what he needs to know. And so he ends up contacting our female main character, who in her day was a super fan of the Arcane Files. She knows everything about the Arcane Files. And she met him when she was younger, like 17, and he was so unbelievably rude about her and to her. Not to her face, but behind her back. She heard him, and that ruined her enjoyment, kind of it. She still was obsessed with it, but she then, on forums, was like really digging in on this guy. And so when he comes to her for help, she kind of laughs in his face, but then realises that, you know what, why not? Let's help him. And so they are together trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this potential werewolf that is going on with his body, while also staying in this small town that she lives in, where she is an outcast. She's always been an outcast. Again, it's got those like Buffy vibes in that sense. I love this. This was a good, if you like cheesy 90s paranormal stuff, like I say, Teen Wolf, although that wasn't 90s, like Teen Wolf, Buffy, that sort of stuff, you will enjoy this. Next up, as an extra, I read Atmosphere. So this wasn't for any of my prompts at all. It was just an extra read that I wanted to pick up because I just really, really wanted to read it. So Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid follows these two astronauts. I think it's only one POV. No, it's two POVs, sorry. And they are female astronauts in the 80s. Now, this was a very difficult thing to do because women weren't really looked at as valuable as men. In the 80s, it was getting better, but they still have to jump through more hoops, and there's less of them to get the same thing that, you know, the men are doing. And so they join we've got Joan, who applies for the space, the first round of women being uptaken by this. She's currently working at university in their science department, and she gets rejected, but on her second application in the next round, she is accepted and she goes off to astronaut training. We then follow another female astronaut who at the start is in space and something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. Now she is on a space station. I don't know if it's meant to be the ISS or an ISS-like thing. I don't think the ISS was up by then. They're on some kind of space station. No, they're on a shuttle. They're on the space shuttle. That's what it is, Andy. Come on. They're on the space shuttle and something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. And now she is fighting against time to get the shuttle back on the ground and save the lives of not only herself, but her fellow astronauts. And then we go back and we see these two as they interact, as they get to know each other, as they fall in love, because both of them are gay. Shock horror, it's a Taylor Jenkins Reid sapphic romance. And we get to see not only these characters in the sense of who they are together, but also Joan and her family relationships, mostly with her niece and her sister, which was fantastic. I absolutely loved that section of the story, and the way that she was trying so hard to be supportive, but not understanding when to push and when to step away, and just trying to get that balance, because her sister was manipulative as fuck. Frankly, I did not like the sister. Can we just say? But she's also trying to reconcile her own sexuality at the same time and juggle that with her job at NASA, and obviously if they found out, she would end up with no job. Whereas the other character, whose name I can't remember, that's terrible, she kind of doesn't care. She doesn't want to get found out, but she doesn't really have any family because her family knows she's gay, and she doesn't really have any friends. So the stakes aren't as high for her, so it kind of gets a little bit of a back and forth there as well. The other characters around them were amazing as well, so lovely, so well rounded. I felt for them. This book, I was messaging Becca and I was like, this better not happen. This better not happen. Because I was so deep in it. It's a short book, but oh my god, does Taylor Jenkins Reid know how to write them. Next is Just Our Luck by Denise Williams, and this is for a book that features food. So this is about a woman who is a bit scatterbrained. I don't know if she's got ADHD, I think she does, but she's not diagnosed. And her name is Sybil, and she basically just can't hold down a job, she can't remember to do anything, she's really, really struggling with ADHD, right? And then she, again, buys a lottery ticket. I have 2 lottery ticket stories in this month, and it turns out to be a winning ticket, but she leaves it at a donut shop, and the guy from the donut shop realises this is a winning ticket the next day and decides that the only ethical thing he can do is to try and find her and get her back this ticket. But the donut shop is his grandfather's, and it is in danger of ending up closed because the bills are getting higher, people aren't coming in as much. His granddad has just been in hospital, which is taking up a lot of money, as you can imagine, in America, because he had a stroke. And then Kieran has had to drop out of medical school to come and look after his grandfather and the business, and so his sister can continue her studies as well. So this book is so much more than like a fluffy romance. Not there's anything wrong with fluffy romance, but it seems like a fluffy romance. But then you're looking at, again, familial connections, the way she is with her family, because her family just thinks she's just scatterbrained. They don't realise there's something more going on, that she really is trying. And then Kieran and how much he cares for his family and how much he's trying to do for his family, while his family are trying to be like, look, you need to look after yourself as well. And then their friends as well. I can't wait to read the second book in this series because it's a companion series. It's called The Radio List. I love the characters in that, so I'm really looking forward to it. That are going to be in that. I love them in this. But yeah, this is so much about family and friendship, and just I loved it so much. Honestly, I think I will pick up so much more of Denise Williams' work in the future. Next, I read A Beautiful Evil, which was for my prompt, a book with mythology, and by the way, this book is gorgeous. So this is a Pandora retelling, and I love this. I think this is my favourite book of the month. The girls just got like constant streams of how incredible this book was. I think I talked about quotes in my vlog, but there's so much I would love to go through, and I would say tab and annotate this book, but I'm not going to tab it because it's got this. Maybe annotate, but like we'll see. But this book, if you read one book by B. Fitzgerald, I mean, you should read all of them, frankly. But if you're going to read one book, read this book. This book was incredible, absolutely incredible. So we have Pandora, who is the first woman. So as a retaliation to Prometheus creating man, because at one point all humans on Earth were men, the gods decide to create Pandora, who is known as a beautiful evil. And she is sent to be the downfall of man, and she is the first woman. Now, she is supposed to be autistic, like she is, the author says that Pandora is autistic. The author herself is autistic, so a lot of her experience went into this. And you see it at first when she first has to wear clothes, because obviously she's been made from clay, She's made from clay and then animated, and when she's wearing clothes, she's just like, she hates the feeling of it. She hates the feeling of the seams and the material and the way it sits, and it's just, she wants to like scratch her own skin off. That's the first sort of sign you get that there's something else going on. And then Pandora is given as a wife to Epimetheus, who is the brother of Prometheus, as a punishment, not only to Prometheus but to Epimetheus. Epimetheus means afterthought when given as a name, so it means like in general it means something like second thought or last thought, and as a name it's an insult, it means afterthought, because everybody sees Epimetheus as this stupid brother of Prometheus who doesn't really know anything. All he's good for is shining armour, but that is a bit of a front. And he's actually a lot more intelligent than people give him credit for by design. And so she ends up as a wife to Epimetheus. He wants nothing to do with her. He's been warned by Prometheus, do not accept a gift from the gods, and she's that gift, because it will be the downfall of man. And Pandora doesn't want to be the downfall of man. She just wants to be loved. She just wants to be seen. And this, oh my God. I love this book so much. I cannot explain to you. I could go on for hours about the incredible messages in this book. I thought a lot of it was going to hinge on the jar, the box. It's not a box, but it's a jar, and it didn't. That doesn't come into it until much later. You really get to know Pandora as a person, Epimetheus as a person, the concept of man and humanhood, and the differences with the gods and the titans, and oh my goodness, this book, honestly, just perfection, absolute perfection. And I am devastated. This book almost put me into like a book hangover, because it just ripped my heart out in so many ways. Like, it's got such a hopeful message, but at the same time such a heartbreaking message. Like, one of the first things that she thinks, so she's being made out of clay, but she can still think. Her animus is inside the clay, and she hears them debating about the size of her breasts and the size of her hips and her stomach and the shape of her nose and her eyes and her ankles, and she's like that must be what's important about me, is how I look. And then they cover her up with clothes before they send her to the human world, because obviously we wear clothes, and she's like, suddenly, like when I was clay I was beautiful, and then suddenly when I'm flesh I'm something, I need to be covered. And again, there's a beautiful, beautiful quote. Let me just find it. When my body was art, it was a thing to be admired. But to become flesh, it was layered in rules of decency and modesty. It was a thing to shield. Like literally they're discussing how beautiful she is as a clay statue, but then like to be admired, I think to be admired, but then to be flesh, you have to be modest, you have to be covered, you have to be like, there's all these rules that society's created, and it's just, oh, this book wrecked me. Yeah, I love this book. I cannot recommend it enough. Next, I read Diarybound, and that was for my Read a Popular Author's first book. So this is by Sable Sorensen, which is an author duo, but it is their first book, and it has been very popular in the book sphere. This, again, is very much like, if you like Fourth Wing, if you like, what else does it remind me of? There's a few different things that remind me, but I definitely see where the Fourth Wing connection comes in, because it is about our characters who, I can't even remember the characters' names, that's terrible. I just read it. So this is set in a world where there are two nations that are at war, and they have been at war for centuries. And one nation basically is these vampire creatures. They're called siphons. So they drink blood to survive, and they have basically killed all the humans in their land, and so they're looking to the place we're in, Nocturna, to basically take over it to use the humans as food. So they've been at war for years. Nocturna, though, has direwolves, and these are like mythical direwolves. These direwolves have magic, and they have like, they are sentient, very much like the dragons in Fourth Wing. And so our main character is just a standard, like, she is a fighter. She fights in the pits for money, and people see her as a girl and they're like, oh, she's going to lose, and they bet against her and she wins big. And so that's what she does for money, alongside like working other jobs, like in the laundry where her mum used to work, because she needs to look after her mum and her little sister. Her dad died in the war, and her mum is losing her mind. She's got something which is coming across kind of like dementia, a kind of schizophrenic type, just to describe it. So she's seeing visions, and she's talking to people that aren't there, and she is not remembering who people are and things like that, just to try and describe it. And so she's having to pay to get this medicine, this sedative, to try and help her calm down when things get bad, and obviously things are very expensive. But when her sister is taken by the nabbers, who are taking children for the, what did I just call them? The vampire people. Siphons. She decides she needs to get to the front to get over the border and try and get her sister back. So she decides to join the ranks of the army, and she just wants to join the army. She's like, I don't really want to be Diarybound, I just want to join the army so I can get to the front. But upon getting to the top of this mountain that they have to climb and meeting some excellent other characters, she is chosen against her will by a direwolf who has not bonded for thousands of years. She is very powerful. She is like top dog, and she is not bound to a human in anybody's memory. And when I say against her consent, normally the direwolves will only bond to people who want to be bonded. They respect if someone says they don't want to be bonded, but in this instance, you know, because she's the chosen one and all that jazz, she is forcibly bonded to this wolf. And so she has to attend the academy with the other bonded, who are all from bonded families. So it's like a elite type thing. The elites get bonded and the commoners don't. So she feels like a fish out of water. She's treated poorly. They're supposed to come together as a pack, and it just doesn't work. There are 4 different packs within the bigger pack, and she is part of the Strategos pack. And they are the sort of strategists, the leaders, the generals. And at the same time, she finds out that the guy she's been seeing for a year is actually somebody she did not think he was going to be. So that gets a little bit tangled. I'm not going to spoil that, but men, they lie. So that's a whole thing. I really enjoyed it. I am looking forward to the second one, Furybound. I do need to order myself an actual hard copy of it. Again, it's nothing new, it's nothing spectacular. The characters are fantastic. And I am really enjoying the history, the magic, the dire wolves. I am loving it. Like, I'm here for it. Is it going to be like the hard fantasy girlies thing? Probably not, but it's my thing. Next, I read Dead to the World by Charlene Harris, and that was for my reread any book prompt, and I'm rereading this whole series, and this is the Southern Vampire Mysteries series, or the Sookie Stackhouse series, or the True Blood series, depending on how you know it. This is book 5 or something, I don't know. Book 4, this is book 4, and this follows Sookie as she goes home one night and finds a almost naked Eric running down her street in the middle of the night, in the winter. It's actually New Year, and she's like, what the hell are you doing here? He has no idea who she is. Worse though, he has no idea who he is. Now, Eric is a bigwig in the vampire world. In this world, they have, like, at least America is set up, so they have kings and queens. So they have monarchs of states. So the Queen of Louisiana is the head of the state, and he is one of her sheriffs. So he is the sheriff of Area 5, which covers, like, Bontemps and Shreveport. And he is very important. And so this is a very, like, not good thing. But the reason he is like this is because a witch propositioned him, a witch who has other powers, propositioned him to take his property over, like his clubs and like all of his area. And he basically told her to go fuck herself. So when he tried to attack her, he was cursed, and boom, he ends up on Sookie's street. Now Sookie has to protect him, but he doesn't really... He's not very good at being protected. He keeps wanting to go into danger. But there's also other things happening. Like I say, with the witches, they are trying to take over. They are looking for Eric. They are trying to push in on the area, not only of the vampires, but the wares and the other witches. And they all get entangled in this coup. I love this book. It is my favourite. I love Amnesia Eric. I love Amnesia Eric. Eric is one of my favourite characters. He is absolutely... I don't even know if you could call him morally grey, because he will do whatever it takes for, like, to protect number one, which is Eric. And yeah, Amnesia Eric is just perfection. Next up, I swapped this book in, and that is Tales of the Celestial Kingdom by Sue Lynn Tan. I was given this by Emma. I'm going to say given. She was on holiday and I asked for it and she gave me it. I switched this out for a bigger book that I had. I can't remember what it was. Oh, When the Moon Hatched. Because I didn't want to read it. Again, I also actually DNF'd that one as well. So I switched it out for this. And these are short stories from before, during and after the Celestial Kingdom duology. And yeah, well, the first few stories I wasn't the most interested in, because it's kind of like the history of the myth from this point of view. The epilogue was amazing, and I'm so glad I read it, and I'm so glad I got the resolution that I wanted from the end of the books. But yeah, this is a stories from Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior. So the Moon Goddess is the Firebirds and the Moon Goddess are a myth or myths from Chinese mythology. And this follows the Daughter of the Moon Goddess, or the original books do, who is not known about really, because she was never meant to be there and her mum was never meant to be immortal. So yeah, I don't know how else to describe that, but I love this. And we're on to our last book. Who knew? All you needed for Andy to be brief about something was a time crunch. So next up, and the last book I read or will be reading this month, is The Magician King by Lev Grossman. This is for my read a book over 450 pages prompt, and it is 550 pages. So that is well over the 450 mark. Now this is the second book in the Magician's trilogy, and this, like I say, it follows on from what happened in the first one. These books are about Quentin, who is like really, he's supposed to go to like an Ivy League college. He is that kind of like smart level. Thinks he's better than everybody else, but dislikable. But instead he ends up accidentally falling into the grounds of this school. I can't remember what it's called. But he ends up being invited to take a test for this magic school, and he passes and then goes to magic school, where he is no longer the smartest. He's actually quite stupid and like in amongst all these incredible people, because only the top of the top of the top get to go to this school. Now the first book does all of their years at school, but there's also a secondary story which is very, very rip-off of Narnia. So there's this world, or this book world in these books, this book series that Quentin has loved since he was a child, called something of Fillory. I can't remember exactly what it's called. but Fillory is the land. And Quentin thinks if magic is real, maybe Fillory is real. And oh boy, is he right, but in the worst kind of ways. The Fillory in the books is a very, very cleansed version, shall we say, of the real Fillory. And there's a monster that has come out and is looking for magicians. And unfortunately, Quentin gets in his line of fire. These books have all the trigger warnings. All of the trigger warnings. Do not pick these books up if you have anything you can't deal with, because don't do it. I love these, but oh my god, do they have a lot of triggers in them. Okay, there we go. Those are all the books I read in the month of January. I had to think about that there. That's terrible. It's already January and I can't think of what month it is. But that's me. I'm going to go to the gym. And I am going to hopefully do a good workout and get some good reading in tonight. Because I only have a couple of days left to finish that book. If you want to let me know you were here, if you leave me some kind of, let's go for moon or sun, or birds or dragons for Daughter of the Moon Goddess or Tales from the Celestial Kingdom. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!